Roche Riesco from Spain. I do thank you for your time. Please tell us about your professional career in the sports industry.
First of all, thank you, Luis, for having me. I'm delighted to take part in this conversation and to share a little bit about my personal and professional experience. I've been a reporter, actually, a sport reporter for most of my life. I was I guess like so many passionate football fans, I would have loved to be a football player. I wasn't good enough by far. So yeah, I thought that journalism was a good way to work in the industry. At first, I was very passionate about radio. In Spain, sport radio, football radio is very big, and so I really looked up to these guys to the radio broadcasters that were capable of transmitting so much passion. But once I started my degree, obviously I developed. I started reading a lot of newspapers, especially American sport writers that are excellent. So I sort of discovered a broader range of things that I could do inside the media landscape. I did, after finishing my degree, I did a master's in journalism in the El País school. El País is a leading Spanish newspaper, and they have a really prestigious journalist school. And after that, I got an internship in Canal Plus, which was what continues to be now it belongs to Movistar, but it's been the right holder for Spain, for the La Liga and UEFA Champions League, Europa League for a long time. I was there a couple of I think 2 or 3 years until 2007. I signed for Marca, which is the leading sport newspaper in Spain and one of the most influential in Spanish. Actually, it has a lot of followers in Latin America as well. I started in the Real Madrid section, covering the Real Madrid news, which is obviously a very good school, right? Because there's a lot of pressure. Marca is a very newspaper, very much focused in the Real Madrid, for the Real Madrid fans. So there's obviously a lot of pressure, to get the latest scoops and the latest news, right? And then I moved to a new section that was created for long form stories, in which I wrote pretty much about different sports, not only about the performance side, but also the business side, the human side stories. That stage was really interesting. I got to cover a lot of Olympic Games in London. I went to the Euro Cup in 2008. I even went to the WSOP, the World Series of Poker, in Las Vegas, which was awesome. So I got a really deep and broad knowledge of the sport industry. And in the last couple of years, I was a golf writer, which was also awesome, because golf is a sport that I love, and I got the chance of covering 2 Ryder Cups, 3. And eventually, although I was very passionate about journalism, about writing and content creating, in the last few years, I don't know, perhaps I became a little bit disappointed with journalism, with the way journalism was evolving, especially in Spain, but on a global scale, but in Spain a lot, because of the clickbait that obviously, now that everything can be, the internet has brought obviously a lot of things, good things, but for media outlets, the fact that everything can be measured, the impact, can be measured instantly. Well, we all know that has the effect that it's having in some media outlets, right? That we're just focusing on the news that apparently people are interested in, So I became a little bit disappointed with that, because I like, the fact that I really like long form and in-depth stories, and that was becoming obviously harder to get through, right, because of what we were talking about. And I became in parallel increasingly interested in and communications, right? Because when you're a reporter, you obviously you contact and you work with a lot of brands, with communication agencies, and you start thinking, hey, well, how would I do that, and start becoming more interested in communication strategies. So I started to sort of start exploring other options, and last year, actually by this, it's going to be a year now, and at the beginning of May, I got a call from World Football Summit, which sort of kind of brought together all my interests, because obviously it was sport, it was football that I still love, but it was more the business side of football. It was communication strategies, but it also involved content creating, which is something that obviously I love. So yeah, I decided to sort of quit my journalism career in some way, and change radically, and I'm very happy that I did, because World Football Summit has fulfilled all the expectations that I have. So I'm really enjoying myself right now.
So now you are focused on the World Football Summit, like using all your expertise as a journalist and communication expert. So what are the projects? What are the goals for the World Football Summit this year or in the following years?
Well, World Football Summit, in case people are not familiar, people that might be watching us, it's an event. It started off as an event, as a one-time event in 2016, a business event for the football industry. Well, what we do is we gather all the leaders of the different fields that are involved in this growing in this growing industry that is football, right? Because a few years ago, football was mostly about clubs, leagues, federations, maybe some brands like Adidas or Nike. But in the last few years, a huge industry has developed. So now we have broadcasters, now we have technology companies, now we have sponsors. So World Football Summit was created as an event to bring together all those industry stakeholders that we thought that didn't have an actual platform to come together and discuss and build an industry together. That started in 2016 in Madrid, and it's grown exponentially to the point that in for this year we had 5 events scheduled. Right, last year we kicked off the first edition of World Football Summit Asia in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, which is obviously the same spirit of the event, bringing the industry together, but more focused in the Asian industry, which obviously has its own issues. Some issues are obviously common to the global industry, but some are very specific. This year we were expecting to celebrate the first edition of WFS Africa, which unfortunately we had to cancel because this was scheduled for the March 17th and 18th, and due to the coronavirus outbreak. Although in South Africa, this was going to take place in Durban, South Africa, the coronavirus was not hitting that hard at that moment, at least. But we thought it was definitely the most sensible thing to do. So obviously we've been impacted by this. We've also had to suspend or postpone WFS Asia, which was scheduled for the 1st and 2nd of July. We also had to postpone the Football Innovation Forum, which is a vertical innovation that we host in collaboration with UEFA during on the eve of the Champions League. We kicked off last year in Madrid, and right now we're focusing on World Football Summit Madrid, which is scheduled for the 23rd and 24th of September, which is, let's say, our flagship event. It's going to be the 5th edition, and we really want to make it a big event because we think that it's more important than ever that the industry comes together, and unites, because we have big challenges ahead of us. So we're very excited to make that a very big event. Although we are obviously aware that it's very difficult to make plans on a long term, because we don't know. We're confident that things will more or less be normalized by that time, and that we'll be able to host that event. But we don't know. And in parallel, obviously, like all of us, we are exploring. Although our platform focuses in on-site events, and actually the sort of our logo or our what resumes our event is people shaking hands. But obviously, we have to adapt, and we're also working on virtual formats because as I was saying before, we can't wait. The industry has a big challenge ahead to adapt to this new scenario, and gathering and starting discussions is very urgent. So we're working on our first virtual event, but we want to do something. I mean, we're aware. A lot of people are and brands and companies are doing webinars and gatherings and a lot of conferences, and that's great. And we're following them, obviously, and learning a lot. But we want to do something special. Like we wanted something big and something different. So we're taking it step by step. We're exploring the best options in the market because we want to do a very big event. Hopefully, in the upcoming weeks, we'll be able to share more information about it. But obviously, we're like all of us, in not only in the sports industry but in all industries, we're going to have to adapt to this new scenario, right? And be imaginative, be innovative. I like the challenge of thinking outside of the box, right? And fortunately, the new technologies provide us such a wide range of tools that we can leverage, right? So it's hard times, obviously, because there are a lot of people having really suffering. But in the professional side, it's challenging, and that's also cool.
So you foresee will be a change after this social distancing moment? People will decide to go to attend, for example, your summit or any other summit in an auditorium, or even we can take this situation for a stadium. People may not want to go back to a crowded place. We are foreseeing a different moment, and people who organize sports events and organize sports conferences, they have to see and to have this timing of perception that something will be different. So what are your view about this possibility that the places, the public places or the sports arenas won't be as full as it was in the past?
Well, it's difficult to predict, right? Because we don't know what the big impact. We don't know when this is going to end, and we don't know what the cost is going to be. We know it's going to be a high cost in terms of lives, definitely, and we don't know how high that cost is going to be. So we don't know the impact that it's going to make in people's mindset. But I want to be confident that I think it's in coming together, and it's part of our nature. We are social animals. So I don't think that's going to change. There might be a hangover, right? Obviously, it's going to take time to people are still going to be concerned about this, and it's going to take time to go back to normal. Especially if the vaccine takes, obviously that's going to make a big change. If we have the vaccine or not, that'll make a big change. But I think that our social nature is gonna make the difference, right? But will we come back to normal? Well, probably we will. But I think that normality won't be the normality that it was previous to the attack, to the pandemic. I was talking with someone the other day, and he said like after the 9/11 attacks, it has become normal that, for example, you can't fly, you can't take a bottle of water on the airplane. Which, if you think of that before the attacks was something you wouldn't believe it. Why can't I take? But we just got used to it. We haven't stopped traveling, haven't we? But we just obviously and we've got used to having to be at the airports 2 hours before our plane is due to take off, and obviously all the restrictions in terms of the things that we can carry and we can't carry. But that hasn't. I don't think that has actually stopped anyone from traveling. Right? It did perhaps for a while, but when the dust settled, we went back to traveling because people love traveling. I think people are continue to be passionate about sports even more because since sports, most major competitions have paused, people are more willing and more eager to enjoy sports than ever. So I don't think that's going to change. We will just have to get used to probably gathering in a different way. But I want to think that, and obviously virtual gatherings and all the virtual space is going to grow. We're seeing a lot of esports activities going on. We're seeing actually a lot of traditional sport properties turning to esports, which is great. So that's obviously going to grow. That's going to mark a turning point. But that doesn't mean that live traditional sports and gatherings are gonna finish. They'll just change. And
perfect. All right. So today we have talked to Paco Roche Riesco. He's from Spain. He's the communication director of the World Football Summit. I thank you for your time and all the information you have shared with us today.
Oh, Luis, my pleasure. Whenever you want, just reach out. We will be happy to join any conversation. And congratulations, because I stayed tuned to previous conversations and a lot of really interesting takeaways. So congratulations.
Amazing. Thank you. Appreciate our time. Be
Bye.
safe. Have a great day.
Bye.